It's hard to let go. I was a young, naive girl who fell into the wrong hands. Even now, I can hardly believe I was. My name is Ideabi. Losing both parents at a very young age thrust me into the toughest parts of life. I struggled endlessly until Auntie Moami, my mother's close friend, came to my rescue and adopted me. She had lost her husband the night she was due to give birth to her second child, but she treated me as her own. Together we managed as a family, selling the cake she made. One cool evening, a black-tinted car followed me as I walked home. Fear gripped me, and when the car honked for me to stop, I ignored it and quickened my pace. A young, fair, handsome man stepped out and called on me. I turned around and said, "I don't have any more cake to sell." "No, I don't want cake," he replied. "So what do you want then?" "Yes." He introduced himself as Frank. His smooth words and charm quickly won me over, and I ended up giving him my phone number. That night, thoughts of him filled my mind. When he called later that evening, it felt like butterflies were dancing in my stomach. As we got to know each other, Frank swiftly introduced me to his parents. I braced myself for the worst, expecting his wealthy parents to be mean and arrogant. To my surprise, they were quite the opposite. The Bayods were so affluent that their name was recognized all over Africa. What would Frank want from someone like me? I wondered. Perhaps it was true love. My Auntie Moami never liked the Bayods, especially Frank, though she never explained why. She always warned me to be cautious around him. Within months, I found myself pregnant with Frank's child, the first man to break me. When I told him, he was so thrilled that he immediately informed his parents. Soon, Frank moved me into his family house. Initially uncomfortable with this, I was surprised when Auntie Moami didn't oppose the move. Everything seemed to happen so fast. After giving birth to a handsome boy, I named him Icum, meaning my strength. However, Frank insisted on changing his name to Nelson. From that day, Frank and his family began treating me differently. I was relegated to doing most of the house chores alongside the other housekeepers and treated like a slave. Confused and distressed by the sudden change, I confronted Frank. Instead of answers, I received a brutal beating, and he moved my belongings to the boys' quarters. Worst of all, I no longer had access to my son. Soon after, another woman moved into the Bayod household. I watched in anguish as she showered my child with the love and care I had been denied. Chief Bayod and Mrs. Bayod doted on her, referring to her as our daughter-in-law, a title they never gave me. The other housekeepers revealed that this woman had been Frank's girlfriend before she went to the States. Fueled by rage, I confronted Frank one last time. When he tried to hit me again, I fought back. That night, I was beaten beyond recognition and thrown out of the house. A kind-hearted stranger found me and nursed me back to health. In shame and despair, I returned to Auntie Moami with nothing. Seeing me in that state, tears streamed down her face, and we wept together. I attempted to report my case to the police, but they were all loyal to the Bayods and threatened to lock me up instead. Frustrated and overwhelmed, I sank into loneliness and depression. One night, consumed by despair, I tried to end my life. As I lifted the poison to my lips, a hand knocked it away, shattering the bottle. I looked up to see Auntie Moami, her eyes filled with sorrow. "It's all my fault," she said, her voice trembling. "I should have told you." "Auntie, what are you talking about?" I asked, confused. She revealed the horrifying truth. Frank had killed his first wife in a domestic fight, and nothing had been done about it. When his girlfriend became pregnant, he beat her until she lost her womb. She fled to the States to live with her mother. He had been with 2 other women after that, both of whom died at his hands. Each time he escaped justice. "You, my daughter, are the 5th woman he's done this to," Auntie Moami said, tears streaming down her face. The weight of her words crushed me, and I realized just how close I had come to becoming another victim of Frank's brutality. None of the other women had borne Frank a child. Desperate for an heir, he sought out another woman who could give him one. When I heard this, I broke down in tears, screaming like a woman who had lost everything. Later, I asked Auntie Moami why she never told me about Frank's past. She confessed that she had seen how happy and in love I was, and she feared that telling me the truth would plunge me back into the deep depression I had experienced after my parents died. She admitted that it was a mistake she deeply regretted but believed that I wouldn't have listened or would have hated her for it. She thanked God that I had survived. Now I had lost everything. My virginity, my pride, my honor, and my son, all to a beast who had no feelings or sympathy. I refused to give up. I know one thing. Life doesn't give us what we deserve, it gives us what we demand. I will fight with every breath in my body to get my son back.